Órale, chingonas y chingonas. Actually, let me put the banner up here. I always forget to do this, man. Right there. Hola, chingonas and chingonas, man. Gracias for tapping in on a special edition right here of Los Tres Chingones Boxing, a one-on-one special edition here, man. I'm going to bring on my special guest, and we are going to touch on trilogies. We'll touch on a couple of other things in boxing as well, but we're mainly going to be focusing on trilogies and the history of boxing, man. I never tend to pretend like I know everything about boxing because I don't, man. And whenever I speak to this gentleman that I'm about to bring on, it lets me know like the more I know about boxing, the more I know nothing about boxing, man, because this guy is just a boxing encyclopedia. So let me go ahead and bring in my special guest. I see you, IMD 1666 Guru Impala. Cubole, Andres, Cubo. Hey, man, let me go ahead and bring in my special guest so we could get this started. Man, welcome, boxing historian one, Mr. David Martinez.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for that nice introduction. dmboxing.com is my website, and I'm just thrilled and most delighted to be on your show once again.
Yeah, if you guys see that just exactly the way it is on the pen, that's the website. Good stuff. I've been showing this. I got a nice big folder right here. As a matter of fact, I got another one ready for the next articles that come in. You guys got to go check out this man's website. He does a lot of great stuff, man. I got a lot of good things right here. And sometimes just when I'm hanging out and I'm like, you know what? I'm a little bit bored and there's really nothing on TV. Oh, here we go, man. Let me entertain myself. And a lot of great stuff. Go check out the website. Really good, cool stuff, man, for all the, real big boxing fans out there. So as you guys can see, his house, Mr. Martinez, before we get started, yeah, look at that. Just memorabilia just all over your home.
Well, it's over 60 years of boxing. I display it in my home. I've been following boxing since 1960, 61. And, I've collected a lot of items, a lot of special items, things that people have never seen or don't know. And as I pan here, as I hold the phone up in the background, you can see some of the memorabilia that's back there that I display. It's better displayed than it is in boxes or in crates in a storage locker.
Yes.
So
I 100% agree. If you have things that, that you consider precious to you, putting it in a box and putting it in a storage, I'm not really sure what that does. That's just so you can tell people that you have it. I mean, what's it doing? If it's gonna spend all its time in a box, in the garage, in a storage, on top of the closet, I don't understand what's so special to it. How special is it really then if you don't put it on display? But the way you have your house, I've seen it before. Wow, it's definitely a thing of beauty. It really is.
Well, I have things here that go back to the turn of the century. Jack Johnson, Jim Jeffries, Bob Fitzsimmons. I have a cigar box from James Corbett. Those items were given to me by people that actually lived in that time frame, in that era, at the turn of the 20th century. So that stuff is very precious to me and irreplaceable, to be honest with you. And I got all of that stuff from other boxing historians, Al Nelson at Jeffrey's Barn and Knott's Berry Farm, back in the late 60s. So these guys were all like in their 80s. Well, they were actually just about my age now. And they knew that I was very enthusiastic about boxing. And, back then we didn't have cell phones and websites and what have you. And I was able to, preciously collect this stuff and display it. I don't know if you can see behind me, I've got a picture there of Enrique Bolanos. I have the actual program in my office, which will go in there momentarily. My uncles, my tios actually went to that fight May 25th, 1948 at the old Wrigley Field in Los Angeles. And, I was lucky enough that they shared and, passed on some of their memorabilia to me. The best memorabilia is stuff from the old days. And again, I go back, Joe Louis, Sugar Ray Robinson, Bob Satterfield, Benny Leonard. I have some few things of him. I visited Jack Dempsey's home in Manassas, Colorado. In August of 1975, I made a special trip to New Mexico to visit my relatives from there in Raton. And then we went up to Manassas, and I was able to get a lot of memorabilia of Jack Dempsey, which I have postcards, pictures. And I actually have pictures of myself with the gloves that he wore in the Firpo fight. So those things to me are very precious, and they're, they're just a prize. They're just what I do. There's a lot of people I know that either my age or went to school with that collect baseball memorabilia, horse racing items, football, whatever. For me, maybe I'm the odd nut, but it's boxing. It has been boxing now for 60 plus years.
Okay. Okay. One thing you said, you have a cigar. Do you know how long cigars last? Because I really don't. I have a cigar here that I'm holding on to. It's actually wrapped in tobacco. It's not, it's just it's precious. It's not for me to smoke. But do you know how long they actually last before they crumble away? Because I really don't know.
I don't know that question because I don't smoke. I don't smoke cigars, cigarettes, or drink alcohol. But what I have right behind me, I don't know if you can see it. I'll show you that cigar box cover. Let's see if I'm doing this right with the camera. Right behind me. Am I doing this right? You'll see the cigar box of the actual image of Jim Jeffries. Do you see it there? Can you see it there? I can't see it there. I'll put my glasses on.
I think towards the bottom, I think I saw it.
Yeah, let me see if we can get that so you can see that. It's right there. You see the cigar box cover there? Let me just zoom in on that there. It's right over my head there.
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah. That's
Almost
Jeffries. That's Jim Jeffries when he's the undefeated heavyweight champion in 1901. The box doesn't have cigars on it. And I got that cigar box from Al Nelson, who lived in that era with Fitzsimmons, Jack Johnson, Jim Jeffries, and those people at that time frame.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mr. Martinez, there's a movie. I think it's called Johnny Mnemonic, which I don't really like the movie. I think it's with Keanu Reeves. I might be getting this wrong, but anyway, they erase his memory, his childhood, so that he could fit so much more into his brain, so he can absorb so much more information. You kind of remind me of that because you have so much information on boxing just off the top of your head. Like, it's not like, well, let me get my notes out right here and let me look it up. It's like I name a boxer to you, and you can just give me like his whole Wikipedia page almost. It's like it's crazy. How do you? I mean, boxing is your life, right? I mean, this is
yes, it is. And to be I'm a historian before I'm a boxing expert. Okay. So the historical part of boxing has fascinated me. After I got out of the service, I served in Vietnam in the late 60s. When I went to college, all my book reports and things were about boxers, and I got straight A's. I never got straight A's when I was in grammar or elementary school, but I knew what I was talking about in boxing. It's like a good plumber or a good doctor or a good dentist or a good barber. They're good what they do at. And I'm not bragging or patting myself on the back, but I do know boxing after 60 some plus years. And the memorabilia that you see there in the background I see it every day. I live it every day. Mm-hmm. And as having the website and have served with the World Boxing Hall of Fame as their historian for 10 years, 1997 is when I started with them as a board member. Then I developed into their boxing historian. And then I left the World Boxing Hall of Fame in 2007. And at that time, I was able to get a producer because I was doing radio at that time and writing articles for my local newspaper. He said, man, I'll paraphrase what you said. You're a walking encyclopedia. You're ahead of the game. Let's do a website. And DM Boxing was born on July 15th, 2007. My producer then was John Boitnott, and he passed on the website to me after he showed me how to run it, how to do it. And the website's been very successful. I have a tremendous fan base. Most of the people, I get a little weirdos and wackos in there. I don't argue with these people. My philosophy is actually being honest because honesty develops credibility. So what you see in the boxing, that I have displayed here in the background. There's nothing fake, fraud, or phony here. It's all original stuff. Here's a T-shirt, Jack Johnson, that was sent to me by Rusty Rubin from Reno, Nevada, when they pardoned Johnson there in the anniversary of his fight with Jim Jeffries. Yeah, July 10th, 1910, when they fought. That's when Jack Johnson beat Jeffries. I don't know if you can see that T-shirt. And you can see the T-shirts. All these T-shirts are, when I used to write and cover fights and go to the boxing events, I would get these things as not so much gifts, but just as gratuities, for covering fights. I probably have, and I'm not exaggerating, probably over 500, I don't know, close to 1,000 boxing T-shirts and hats here. A lot of that stuff's in boxing and in storage. Yeah, let me step into another room here, and you can see there's Rocky Marciano and Ezra Charles. Rocky Marciano and Joe Louis. That's the Philadelphia fight where Marciano. I don't know if you can see all that.
Yeah, we can see behind you.
See behind me there. I'm in my. My grandson's 28 years old now, but when he was born, we had him in this room, and I developed this room into a boxing piece of memorabilia.
Right.
You can see that there's Marco Antonio Barrera and Morales. I covered that fight for Ring Sport magazine.
We're gonna get into some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And for those watching, again, that website right there, just the way you see it.
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff, man. And I'm going to leave a link in the comment section right after we're done with that website as well. So you guys can go ahead and check it out, man. Great stuff. With that, Mr. Martinez, let's get into the subject at hand. Let's get into some trilogies. There's trilogies that I never even heard of. We were talking a little bit about it before we went live. And I'm like, wow, I never even heard of these trilogies, man. The ones I know about are probably the ones that everybody thinks about.
Yes. There's one that there. I should do an article piece on trilogies. That's a wonderful subject that you bring up. That's one subject that I haven't covered, but I have my top 5. And when you talk about trilogies, okay, that's the number 3. The best one is The Godfather. Because the Godfather movie, and I'm jumping a little ahead of myself, trilogies, when the first one or the lead fight or the lead movie, and I'm using The Godfather as an example, everybody wants to see it again. So Godfather 2 came out. Now, Godfather 3 wasn't as good as the first 2 because the first 2 got movie and actors of the year, Marlon Brando and the actors that were James Caan and those people that were in that movie. So the lead fight. Let's talk about fights now. Get off the Godfather thing, because when I think of trilogies, there were 3 Godfathers, and all 3 of them were very good, especially the first 2. And in fights, some of those fights don't live up to the trilogy. I'll give you the number 1 trilogy in my opinion is Ali Frazier. Now, the second fight wasn't as good as the first and the third. The third in 1975 in Manila. And the first at Madison Square Garden, March 8th, 1971, was, to me, in my lifetime, as I speak, was the event of my life. That event, nothing compares. They talk about Mayweather and the MMA people and Mayweather and Pacquiao. If you lived where I lived in 1971, Matt, I have the original program, the ticket stub, and I can see the posters that Leroy Neiman, they're right behind me, as a matter of fact, as I'm talking. That was the number 1 on my list of 5, and I'm going to give you the 5.
Okay.
But I hope you understand The Godfather that's just like a lead-in.
I got it. I understand. I also have a channel where I talk about movies and shows. So, anytime you want to go on there and talk Godfather, I'm down with that. But you know what? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Ali Frazier. That's probably maybe the most popular one. I know there's a couple of other popular ones there as well.
Well, it was a heavyweight championship fight, and it was 2 undefeated fighters in the prime of their life. Ali he had 2 fights prior to that. He fought Jerry Corey. He fought Bonavina. But that fight was it was a spectacle. It really was. And I lived it. I wasn't in New York, Madison Square Garden. I saw it at a theater. And front row, I was there, the first one in line. I actually have the poster of that fight from the theater. And that, to me, as far as trilogies, now we're just talking about 3. Trilogies is 3. That's my number 1.
Okay. Okay. And what is the best fight? You had the first one where Frazier won, and then the second two where Ali won. The third one being the Thriller in Manila, where Frazier retired in the corner, right? The corner retirement
Eddie
where
Futch, Eddie Futch stopped the fight in the 15th round before prior to the 15th
before
round.
drive to the 15th round, that's
Yes.
when Ali came out and famously said that is the closest thing to death you will ever come. Now,
Mhm.
was that the best out of all three fights in your opinion?
It was a great fight. I'm not demising that, but
Mm.
as far as living the moment and seeing the fight and anticipating each and every round, the first one to me ranks higher than the third one. Now I know a lot of people will disagree with that. I'm not trying to change anybody's opinion. My opinion is the first one because I know how I felt at the time I watched that, and Ali was undefeated. So was Joe Frazier. And when Ali was dropped in the 15th round from a tremendous left hook from Frazier, boy, that was just absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely paints a picture because it's also the moment. It's also how big the fight is. Sure,
Yes,
the fight inside the ring definitely has to live up to something.
it, it,
However, the moment needs to be there as well.
it's the anticipation.
Right.
Watching fights, knowing the result is not doesn't fascinate me. It's not my joy.
Mm.
Watching the fight with anticipation, not knowing what's going to happen, is, and because nowadays we tape fights, we watch replays, but I saw that fight live from Madison Square Garden, and I didn't. I bet on Joe Frazier to win the fight. Yes, I did, because inactivity of Muhammad Ali prior to that fight. I won $50, $60 back then. That was a lot of money for a young boy like me. But that fight ranks higher than number three, not by much,
Right.
but the anticipation, two undefeated fighters at the same time, Ali coming out of his exile. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I can't say any more about it.
Mm. Speaking on that, one that definitely appears. That one has the Thriller in Manila. That one has the corner retirement and everything. Another one that has to this day, the saying lives on with somebody not wanting to come out to answer the fight, and that is Duran. Manos de Pierda, Hands of
Yes.
Stone, Roberto Duran versus one Mr. Sugar Ray Leonard. The first one was in Canada. Duran won that one by decision. The second one was in New Orleans. Leonard won that one by TKO, which, well, let me get to the third one was in Vegas, and Sugar Ray Leonard won that one by decision. Now, I think people kind of get these a little confused, Mr. Martinez. I think people believe that Duran had the No Mas fight as the third fight, but that was actually the second fight that he
Yes,
had
it was.
with No Mas.
Yeah,
And
that
I,
wasn't.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
people are kind of misled. They're thinking that it was the last time they fought
No,
that was
no.
the No Mas, but it wasn't. It was the second one. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can. That fight, I have my opinion on that fight. Duran was just he was frustrated because he felt, and I've talked to certain people in the Duran camp about this. I did some research about it. Um, he was frustrated because I guess he wanted to turn that fight into a brawl. He didn't follow the game plan, so he said, "No, Moss, I don't want this thing. I'm not putting up with this." So he walked away, which was terrible, because the two things in boxing that are a disgrace are you quit, and I'm going to let the cat out here. He's trying to go out. You quit, and of course, a champion doesn't make weight. Eddie Futch told me that personally. Nat Flesher told me that personally, and Bert Sugar told me that. These are all boxing authorities. Actually, those are the two things in boxing that are a disgrace: not making weight and quitting. And Duran did that. So that put a scar. And so you have scars. I have a cut in my arm from a chainsaw when I was a kid. It's still there. It just reminds you of that. It keeps brought up. You can't change what happened. And it was unfortunate that Duran walked away from Leonard in that second fight. The first fight was in Montreal, by the way, and the first fight was one of the great welterweight fights I have ever seen.
Yeah, till this day, I still hear about that fight.
Tremendous.
That was definitely a great fight. Yeah, that was in Canada, and the second one,
Montreal.
yeah, Yeah, Montreal. The second fight was in New Orleans. That was the No Mas fight, which No Mas lives on till this day.
Mhm.
Regardless of what language you speak, anywhere around the world, everybody still knows the No Mas. That one rang so. I mean, till this day, I think it's probably the most shameful thing in boxing today. They're not making weight. I think it should be a little bit more shameful, but I think it's a little bit acceptable now. I don't think people look at it
Oh,
as
of course it is. The promoters have invented the catch weight thing, which is bogus
right,
in my.
right.
I'm old school, so when I speak, I'm speaking just my personal opinion. The
Mm.
old school, you had your weight classes. You didn't have it was you went 15 rounds. You made weight, and there wasn't these catch weights. Now there's going to be a catch weight in the Ryan Garcia Giovanni Davis fight.
And I want to get
Yeah.
definitely want to get to that with you at the end of this. Puerto Rican Raw. Hey, first of all, shout outs to everybody up in here, man. Dos Matador, JC, Joaquin, Pomono Soul Sounds. What's going on, big dog? Puerto Rican Rum.
Hello to everybody.
Yeah. Historian David Martinez on here with me. Puerto Rican Rum says Roberto Duran versus Esteban de Jesus was a great
Tremendous.
trilogy.
Yeah. Duran was over 135 for that fight, and I'm not making any excuses for him, but Ibastin de Jesus is one of the most underrated lightweights ever. He's like Vicente Salivar. Nobody talks about these guys.
Mm.
Vicente Salivar was a featherweight.
Right. It was too much weight loss for Duran. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that was definitely one of the big things right there where he had a trouble making weight, and I know he came up with the whole thing of like, hey man, I'm trying to I didn't take care of myself. I ate a lot. I drank a lot of coffee. I remember that. But I just want to point out that the No Mas was the second fight, not the third. The third fight was in 1989, I believe it was. And that
Yes.
was not the No Mas. That was already after the No Mas. Um, let's move on right here to Pomono Soul Sounds. This is another very, very popular one, and it should be. We're talking about Mickey Ward versus Arturo Gatti for
That's
the
in my top five.
that's I think both of those fighters just they just need to be praised. You know, there's for me, I've always said like, look, there's definitely a Hall of Fame, and boxers should be inducted into the Hall of Fame that earned their way there. But there should also be a spot for like the warriors, those whether they won a lot, whether they lost a lot, but those that just gave in there that went in there and just gave it their all. The ones that proved that said, if you beat me, I am willing to die. You need to kill me in here because I got no quit in me. You need to kill like those type of fighters. I think need their own little section to be recognized for the gladiator heart that they brought. And some of these guys that I have in my mind that should be in there are not going to be boxing, Hall of Famers, but I definitely respect them. Both Gotti and Ward are definitely in that list, and they, I think, deserve to be in both. But when it comes to Gotti, Ward won the first fight through decision. Gotti got the second one in decision, and Ward won the third one decision. However, there was a point deduction in the third fight. They deducted a point off of Gotti for the low blows. But what do you remember in this trilogy, Mr. Martinez?
Well, that's the epitome of a trilogy. That those warriors, and you said it best. I mean, I'll just paraphrase what you said. Those guys fought, and they made a movie about that. Mickey Ward.
Yeah,
It was so dynamic that the trilogy of that and Gotti was a warrior. I mean, Gotti fought them all. He fought all the contenders in his day. And those fights, I personally thought Gotti won all three fights. That's just my opinion. And you're right; they had the point deduction, low blows, and he was warned on that. But yes, that was a tremendous fight. That's one of my top five personal. I use the word personal. I repeat that twice because Gotti Ward was one of them. Of course, the one that tops the list is Ali Frazier trilogy. But if we're talking about trilogies, Gotti Ward is definitely on my list, my top five.
yeah, definitely. It's definitely there for me as well. It's not my favorite. I'm gonna get to my favorite, which is a little bit outside of the lines, and we'll get to that. We'll get to why. Pomono Soul Sound says catch weights suck. They should cut out all the junior weights and only have one champion in each division.
A 17 weight
Definitely,
division. There's 17 weight divisions. You know what? I have a hard time remembering who all the champions are on these with the four
yeah,
different governing bodies. Again,
yeah,
I'm old school. I'm in my
right.
70s, so my mind is set that way. Am I changing and adapting to the new rules? Absolutely, I have to because I do the website and I have to be honest with my people. But getting back to the trilogies, I'm going to take a wild guess and say or think that your top trilogy, I'm going to say Marco Antonio Barrera and Eric Morales.
That
Am I
that's
correct?
okay. No, but that's definitely there. It's definitely there. It's not my number one though, but I love that one. That I mean, talk about my goodness. Every time people watch Rocky movies, right? It's like, oh man, you don't really see that in a boxing ring. Oh, yes, you do. When there's a special type of fights. I say it every now and then when I see some great battles like you see with those two guys, right? Barrera and Morales and the fights they had. I'm like, look, man, you watch the Rocky movie, you see it in real life because these guys just went at it. I really
Well,
love the
let me tell you, Eric Morales is in two of my top fives. The other one
Mhm.
being Manny Pacquiao. They fought three times.
That was really good. I
They
see
fought.
there's
They
so many
fought. They
great
fought. They
trilogies.
fought at super featherweights at 130, and I'm telling you, Eric Morales is one of my top Mexican fighters. He's in my top 10. He's not within the top five because I've got Chavez and Saldivar, Sanchez, Ricardo Lopez, Oliveras, and Zarate there,
Mm.
and they respectively belong there. But that second tier, Eric Morales definitely beats her. Him and Marco Antonio Barrera were actually true Mexican warriors.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I enjoyed even I mean just outside of their trilogies, their careers were just so much fun to watch. But
Mhm.
those trilogies were really really good. One of the popular ones that I really love that I really enjoy going back to the heavyweight division is what Joaquin is saying, putting right here as the first one. Well, not his first pick, but what he typed them first right here. Holyfield versus Riddick Bowe.
Oh yeah.
Evander the Real Deal Holyfield versus Riddick Bowe. Man, these were some great ones. And those were, back when heavyweights were still the thing. Today, the heavyweights, while there are some names, it's not the heavyweight division is not what it used to be. Once upon a time, the heavyweight division was the thing. Back then it was the thing. And Holyfield versus Bowe, man. I mean, I think all three of the fights were in Las Vegas. Bowe taking the first one by decision, Holyfield taking the second one by decision, and Bowe taking the third one by TKO. However, one thing here is that second fight is where Fan Man came flying in his little propeller. I believe it was in the seventh round. He comes flying in, misses the ring. I don't know what he was really looking to do. So I'm assuming that he was trying to land in the ring. I don't really know, but he hits the ring corner. I believe in Riddick Bowe's ring corner, and they just beat the snot out of they just pummeled the guy. I think he ended up breaking his back or something like that. Uh, Little fact, I think like 10 years later after that or something, he moved up to Alaska, and I don't know if the guy was really struggling with some mental issues. He committed suicide up in Alaska. He moved up to Alaska and he
Who
committed
who who
suicide.
who in, who in their right mind would do something like that?
I
That would be the equivalent of robbing a jewelry store in broad daylight with the security guards right in front of the thing. When I saw that, I have to rate that as one of the most bizarre things I have seen. It was on national
yeah.
TV. I do believe it was an HBO fight. I just put my head down. I said, well, I can believe anything now.
Yeah, yeah,
and,
but
and, and that trilogy is not in my top five. I'm glad it's
it,
in yours respectively,
it,
but
it,
it's not. It's in my top 10. Yes, it is the trilogy Bowe and Holyfield, but not in my personal top five.
I have in my top five just because where the heavyweights were at that time. Look, Pomona Soul Sounds brings up something really good. Vasquez versus Marquez. That I mean, there's so many great ones. I but just like you were talking about Ali Frazier, at least for me, I was young. I was a kid when Bo and Holyfield were doing their thing. And like I said, at that time, the atmosphere was the heavyweights were the ones. They were the top dogs in boxing. If you're going to talk boxing at that time, the number one thing was talking heavyweights, right? And then everybody else came in and they're doing their thing, but nothing was above heavyweights at that time. So that's why for me, I get it. It's probably not the best. I understand it. I do see some of these other smaller fighters and say, yeah, action wise, they're better than Holyfield versus Bo. But just the atmosphere that was around me at that time, and in boxing at the time, how I took it, I definitely put Bo versus Holyfield up there. But there's a lot of great ones that people are bringing up right here.
Tony, I can't see your screen, but Tony Zale and Rocky Graciano was in my top 5. And their second fight in 1947, July, to be exact, was one of my top 10 fights of all time. Tremendous fight. Rocky Graciano, they were middleweights against Tony Zale. Tony Zale was known as the Iron Man, or the Steel Man of Steel. Tremendous fight. I've seen many clips of that particular fight. That is definitely a trilogy in my top 5.
Okay, see, that's one that we need you, or that at least I need you, because I've never heard of that trilogy. Tony Zale versus Graziano.
Yes, Rocky Graciano. Yes.
Now I've heard
they made a movie starring Paul Newman on that. Somebody Up There Likes Me. Check that out on if they have that on Netflix, or I don't think they have it on Netflix, but TMC shows that movie on a regular basis. It's really a good movie. Matter of fact, Paul Newman was up for an Academy Award in that movie, and Paul Newman got the role. And I do believe, I may be wrong, I think James Dean was supposed to get that part, and then he died. I think. I may be wrong with my movie trivia.
Okay. I definitely it's with Paul Newman.
Paul Newman is a star. He plays Rocky Graciano.
Oh wow. Okay, I'm definitely gonna check that out. I'm a movie buff. I love movies and shows. I'm definitely gonna check that out. Another one that I had no idea about was Lopez versus Said. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Lopez fight.
Yes.
Yeah, that was another one that I don't rank as high in my top 5. It's in the conversation. Yes, it is. But my top 5, if I could just get them out to you, Zale Graciano, of course, Ali Frazier, Chiquita Gonzalez, and Michael Carbajal. The first fight was tremendous. That might have been the best light flyweight fight in the history of boxing. That would be when Michael Carbajal went down. He knocked out Chiquita Gonzalez and won that junior flyweight title. That's another one in my top 5. And another one that I want to bring to people's attention, and I know you don't know this, but one of my favorite trilogies was Ernie Indian Red Lopez and Hedgeman Lewis. They fought 3 times. I did not see the first 2 fights. As a matter of fact, I'm in the garage here. I have the program of those fights. If you can see them here behind me. You see Lopez and Indian, right there. They're right there. I hope, there's the robe and the program. But my compadre and my uncles went to see the fight. I didn't go to those fights because I was in Vietnam. They fought in 67. They fought again in 68. And then the third fight was October 4th, 1969. And that was at the sports arena. And the third fight was tremendous. Lopez won the first one. He gave Hedgeman Lewis his first loss. And then Lewis beat him on a decision in the second fight. They were at the Olympic Auditorium. And the third fight was in October of 1969. It was the semi-main event. Matter of fact, I'll show you the poster of that card. Was Mondo Ramos defending his lightweight championship against Yoshida Namada. That was at the sports arena in October of 69. Let me go in here and I'll show you that poster. You see that there, the original poster right behind me?
Oh, yeah.
And if you look at that closely, am I there? Yeah, if you look at that closely, you can see Hedgeman Lewis and Red Lopez underneath it. And on that card was the American debut of Rodolfo Martinez, who was a tremendous bantamweight, a knockout artist out of Mexico. A tremendous boxing. That was one of the best boxing cards I've seen. It was really good. But
I've tried to well, I haven't tried. I have kind of brushed up a little bit on Indian Red Lopez and some of what he's done in his
That's
career.
Danny Lopez's brother.
Okay, okay.
Little Red.
Got you, man. Yeah, I gotta go and look up some of this more stuff and all the articles that you're sending me. I just love it. Another one that I don't now. I kind of like to believe that I've done enough homework on Bobby Chacon, but he was in a trilogy with Boza, right?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
And how was that trilogy? What can you tell us about that?
One of those fights in 80, trying to think the year, 82, I do believe, was Bobby Chacon was a tremendous warrior.
Mm,
He fought Rafael Bazooka Limon in a
yeah.
their fights were just absolute wars. That wasn't a trilogy with Limon because they fought 4 times. One of them was a draw. Either the first or second fight was Ring Magazine Fight of the Year. Then Bobby Chacon answered the bell again, and the following year, his fight against Cornelius Boza Edwards was also Fight of the Year. Back-to-back Fight of the Years. I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, 81 and 82, or might be 82, 83 that they fought. Those were absolute wars. You talk about Gotti Ward, take a look at YouTube. Bobby Chacon against Rafael Bazooka Limon and Bobby Chacon against Cornelius Boza Edwards. Those were the epitome of wars in the ring. Bobby Chacon was a warrior. I was ringside when he beat Danny Lopez in May of 1974 at the Sports Arena. I bet on Danny Lopez was a knockout artist, but Bobby Chacon actually stopped him in the 9th round at that time.
Little Red Lopez, right?
Little Danny Red Lopez. He lost his championship title to Salvador Sanchez.
Hey, you know what, Dos Matador? I actually knew Paul Benke's brother. He was a boxing trainer at one of the YMCA's, and I knew him for a while. And I did actually get a chance to meet Paul Benke. He was at that time he was a little bit shot out, man, but I got love for him. But at that time, he was working with law enforcement, teaching them how to fight, and I lost contact with them, so I don't really know. I know what you're putting up here is too bad he ended up with. I don't know if that's true or not, man. But if it is, that's sad, man. It looked like he was trying. It looked like he was starting to struggle with his, his mental health, man. But that's unfortunate, man. David,
here's a program behind me. If I turn this camera the right way, there's Danny Lopez when he fought Art Hayfie at the Forum. Just below that is Bobby Chacon against Ruben Oliveras. Their programs I got those displayed there. As a matter of fact, that red T-shirt you see there is Morales Barrera.
Oh, nice, nice. Joaquin is saying that you were in Vietnam the same years as his dad was, 101st Airborne.
I was in Vietnam. I arrived there in November of 1966. And I did 2 tours of duty in Vietnam. I'm proud of that. I'm a proud veteran. I did the tour of duty in November of 66 to July of 67, and then went back in March, or actually April of 68 to November of 68. So I made two tours to Vietnam, and I'm God bless all the men and women that serve our country.
And I'm definitely gonna have you on my other channel to talk about your experiences on that. Pomono Soul Sound says my mother named me Armando after Mando Ramos won the title in 1969. Now, when people hear the name Mando Ramos, I think people think of the movie American Me when they're having some pruno with the Italian guy. Mando Ramos, but they don't even realize that that's an actual fighter. What can you tell us a little bit about Mando Ramos?
Mando Ramos was a complete idol in Los Angeles. He would be the equivalent of Oscar De La Hoya, Enrique Bolanos, and those type of fighters, the Golden Boy. He was Eileen Eaton's baby. I saw Mando Ramos fight many times. Matter of fact, here's his picture right here. Let me see if I can show you. See, pull his picture off the wall. There he is right there. You see, hold on, let me turn this around. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Mando Ramos in his prime. 135-pound lightweight champion, and when he had it together, he was on. I went to the Namada fight. Unfortunately, he lost the title to Chongo Carmona. That was a sad thing at the Coliseum. He had, he had a lot of problems. He had a lot of demons in his life. Mondo Ramos was, his footwork was a lot better. Him and his dad used to go underneath the pier in Long Beach and just dance and do the footwork down there. I really enjoyed Mondo Ramos. I saw many of his fights. What can I say? God bless his soul in heaven. I knew him personally, and WBC lightweight champion. And matter of fact, here's the Carmona program signed by the referee, Rudy Jordan, Chongo Carmona, and him. Hold on a second. I'll show you right here. I can bring the camera back down there. Do you see that? Let me pull that off the wall. I think if I pull it off the wall, you can see it better. Here's the original program from the sports arena from the Chongo Carmona fight, autographed by Mondo, Chongo Carmona, and the referee, Rudy Jordan. Right there. Can you see that?
Yeah, right? I got it. Yeah.
That's the original program. And Rudy Jordan's passed, and so has Armando. Chongo Carmona is still alive. He's doing well.
Nice.
You see that? Yeah, that's the program.
Yeah, I got it.
That's the original program there.
Let me see. Pomona, I found amateur with Steve Benke. Yeah, I know. I knew him very well. I lost contact with him, Pete Town. But yeah, Steve Benke. He was a boxing trainer, man. Yeah, definitely. What my favorite trilogy of all time is not even a trilogy, so maybe it disqualifies it. But I definitely got to throw it out there. And I know you already were kind of disqualifying some of the fights because they weren't trilogies, because they fought 4 times.
Israel Vasquez and Rafael Marquez, they fought 4 times. That is worth mentioning.
Yeah, it did definitely worth mentioning, because that always comes to my mind. However, Pacquiao Marquez.
Absolutely.
Every single time they fight. And by the way, I want to make this clear. I didn't even care the winners, because Pacquiao beat Marquez the first 3 times, and Marquez comes and wins the 4th time. In my opinion, I don't think Pacquiao won all the 3 fights. Not only do I not believe he won all 3 fights, but I didn't even really care. Even though he had beat him the first 2 times and they're going to fight again for the 3rd time, I was like, I'm good. Even when they were going to fight the 4th time, Mr. Martinez, I was like, I'm still in. Not only that, after the 4th, after the 4th fight, I said to everybody, I said, do it again. Do it again. Fight 5 times. I am A-okay, man, because those were some really good fights. I don't want to make it seem that they were so much better than Barrera versus Morales or some of these other fights, but I just thought they were just very, very entertaining. I loved it. The first fight, I think Marquez got dropped like 3 times, got up, and I thought he ended up winning some of those rounds that he actually got dropped in. But man, just so much back and forth, and I just loved it.
That isn't a trilogy, but I tell you, you speak tongues of the truth. Those 4 fights were absolutely outstanding, and I agree with your assessment about the winners of those fights.
Yeah. If it's not for that, if we got to disqualify it because it's 4 fights, then I would have to go Gotti versus Ward. I would definitely have to go Gotti versus Ward. But there's so many other great ones. Let me ask you this, and I'll ask everybody else this too. I'll ask all the chingones on here, man. Where would you rank one of the newest trilogies that's out there with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder? Would you rank?
I would mention that. That fight was just that trilogy was good. When Tyson Fury went down, I thought that was a clean, going to be a clean knockout with Wilder winning that fight. But he got up, and of course, the draw, and the Tyson Fury won the 2 fights. It was almost like that Tyson Fury had Wilder's number. That trilogy deserves mention. Yes, it does. And again, it's not in my top 5. You mentioned fights that were over 3 trilogies. You have to mention a fight, 2 fighters that were great. They're actually in my top 20. Actually, one of them is in my top 5. Harry Greb, when he fought Gene Tunney back in the 20s, Tunney won. They fought 5 times. That was a series that was unbelievable. And I actually interviewed Gene Tunney's son back in 1988, and he told me a lot about Harry Greb that a lot of people don't know. Now, obviously, I wasn't born in the 20s, so I don't know, but he got the information from his father. Gene Tunney was a lot stronger and better and a tougher fighter than people give him credit for. I mean, he was never knocked out. He was knocked, the long count with Dempsey. Yes, I do get that. They fought that 10-round fight where Tunney beat Dempsey twice, but Harry Greb didn't want anything to do with Gene Tunney. And Jay Tunney, at that time, I don't even know if he's still alive. We had lunch several times. He was in Santa Barbara, and he would read my boxing columns in the Santa Barbara News Press, and he got a hold of me, and he wanted to tell me about his dad. I have a lot of respect for Gene Tunney and Harry Greb, 2 outstanding light heavyweights and heavyweights. Now, Gene Tunney went on to win the heavyweight title against Dempsey, of course.
When you're just talking right there, another fight came to mind, which I believe was a trilogy, wasn't it? Emil Griffin and
Benny Perret.
And Benny Perret, Benny the Kid Perret.
That was, yes, it was. That was a trilogy.
Okay. Yeah, that one, I enjoyed that one. Pomona is asking about Albert Davila.
Albert Davila, yeah.
Can you tell us just a little bit about him?
Bantamweight. He had those fights with the guy out in the barber. He's a barber now. I can't think of his name. His name's right off the top of my head. Albert Davila was a lot. He fought Alfonso Zamora. I can't think of the kid he fought in that trilogy that he fought, the 2 fights. It'll come to me, but yeah, he was a bantamweight. I got a picture of Albert Davila here with Jaime Garza. I'll go in there and pull this off the wall so you can see it. Okay. I don't know Albert Davila personally. I've met him and got his autograph at the Hall of Fames. I really enjoyed him. He was former bantamweight, WBC bantamweight champion. Hold on a second here. Let me pull here. I'll show you this picture. I'm really happy with this picture. Here he is. He's in the same stable with Jaime Garza. Hold on a second.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, you see that? You see that picture there? Am I doing that right?
You got me laughing over here because it's like anything that we bring up, you got a picture or some sort of memorabilia about it, Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, I actually didn't take that picture. That picture was given to me. I didn't catch Garza for the autograph, but that's Albert Davila in his prime. I do believe that's the Main Street gym that they were training there. They were there. They were stablemates there.
Okay, nice. And you know why I should mention the reason why Emily Griffin and Benny the Kid Perret, why that stood out to me was because Benny the Kid Perret was killed.
Yes, he was.
He was killed in the ring, and I believe Griffin, he really suffered. I saw a documentary on him later on how that affected him in his life, and he ended up meeting Benny the Kid Perret's son because it was very important to him because in their last fight, Benny the Kid Perret was actually killed in the ring, and that's it's unfortunate. Joaquin says Vasquez, Marquez were damn good fights. I saw Marquez fight Too Sharp Johnson in Texas. Mm-hmm. Man, that guy, that man can punch. Matt Vasquez.
There's Vasquez right there.
Oh, let's see him. Let's put that down. Shoot, hang on. Okay.
We can see that if I got that on there now.
Yeah. A little bit from the distance, but yeah. Wow, man.
Israel Vasquez.
Yeah, asking everybody on the chat, man, what do you guys think about Wilder and Fury? Should that be mentioned anywhere? I don't have in the top in my top 5 either. If it wasn't, here's why. The last 2 fights, in my opinion, Fury pretty much dominated. Especially the third fight, but the second fight, to me, hands down, Fury won the fight. The first fight, let me just go ahead and say this. I thought Fury dominated. The only thing that made that fight close were the two, where I think it was two knockdowns that Deontay Wilder had.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of that, I don't think they were. I definitely they should be mentioned, absolutely, but I don't think they're that great. Just like, and I might ruffle some feathers here, just like Duran versus Leonard is not that great for me because the first fight being a banger, love the first fight. The second and third fight were pretty lopsided. Sugar Ray Leonard went in there and just kind of did his thing, and
Yeah, they weren't even entertaining.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was very one sided. So when people bring up that as one of the greatest trilogies, I'm like, is it outside of the first fight? Is it
Well,
really that great of a trilogy?
the lead fight set the tone, but
Right.
a better trilogy for Leonard was against Hearns. I personally think Hearns had the first fight. He ran out of gas, and I give Leonard all the credit in the world for the stoppage of that fight, the first one. And you know, they fought again, and I thought Hearns beat him personally.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. You know, I think if I'm correct on this, the Four Kings, I don't think they all ended up fighting each other. I think it was did Duran fight all three? Did he fight Hearns and obviously he fought Leonard, but did he fight
Yeah, he fought Hearns. That was a tremendous knockout. That's one of my top
did,
knockouts.
did, did he
Yes, it
fight
was.
Hagler? Did he fight Hagler as well?
Yes, he fought Hagler. I was at that fight. He fought Marvin
Okay.
Hagler. It was a decision. As a matter of fact, Roberto Duran, in the title defenses that Hagler had, was the only one that went the distance with him. That was a close fight. Hagler came on in the 14th and 15th round to win that fight. As a matter of fact, let me take you in the room here. I have the T-shirt of that fight, which I have it framed. I was going to have Hagler sign it, but I didn't want to pull it out of the frame. Hold on a second. And that fight,
maybe I tilted too many back. I thought there was one fighter. I thought it was Duran that didn't fight one of those guys. Oh yeah,
Duran fought. He fought them. He fought them all. He even fought Benitez. Like that, he won the welterweight title. See that T-shirt?
yeah, I see it.
It's priceless. I actually didn't get the fight, the T-shirt, the hat. I went out to Palm Springs where Hagler was training for the Duran fight, and that was that. I went there in September of 1983, and the fight was in November, and Duran went the distance with Hagler. So Duran fought all. He fought them all. He only fought Hagler once.
Got you. Well, I mean, Hagler and Hearns only fought each other once as well, and
that's right.
And that fight will, I mean, for as long as humanity lives, everyone's gonna remember that three round showdown right there. So, let me see a couple of names that people just want you to give a little bit of information on. Frankie Duarte.
Yes. Yeah, Frankie Duarte, I was trying to think of the name. It slipped my mind momentarily. He had some great fights with Albert Davila. They're best friends now. I mean, they put on one heck of a show there for the LA market.
You know, I love that. I love when two guys really go into battle against each other. I mean, really war type style, and then end up being really, really good friends. Another one, Art Aragon.
Art Aragon, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Art Aragon, he was the golden boy, and he fought at most of his fights. He holds the record for the most fights at the Hollywood Legion Stadium, and that is one arena in Los Angeles that escaped me. Aragon was just masterful there. He fought Ricky Bolanos several times there. I think they fought there twice at the Hollywood Legion. But the Hollywood Legion's closed. They closed their doors there. They made a lot of old movies there. Closed in 1959. So when I started following boxing, actually it was in January of 1960. Even though I was watching the fights with my tios and my uncles and my dad and everybody, Art Aragon, tremendous. I mean, he was from Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's where my family was from. My family, my father, my uncles, my aunts were all born and raised in the state of New Mexico. I was born in California. I'm going to show you a picture of Art Aragon at his birthday party that I attended. Hold on one second. I'm going to pull this off the wall. Autograph.
We got Joaquin Zamora right here, a fellow New Mexican as well.
Yeah.
So shout outs to Joaquin.
Can you see that picture?
Okay, yeah,
Hold
I
on,
got it.
let me pull over
A
here
little
where
bit dark.
I
Oh
want to
yeah,
make sure.
there it is.
That's Art Aragon.
Okay.
That's me and Art Aragon. I do believe the year was maybe, that's about 20 years ago. I'm a young
Okay.
chap there.
Nice.
Yeah, very,
Nice.
very. It's one of my favorite pictures. Art
Mm,
Aragon he was like a bad boy in boxing. He fought El Ricky Bolanos, and they were wars.
okay. Okay. You know what? Hey, Pomona, what year was that Kiko passed away? Um,
Hmm.
I think I remember that. He fought for, let me see, let me read this. He fought for the title 4 times, lost to Zamora, Zarate, and Pintor, and he beat Kiko, man, for the WBC belt, and Kiko passed away in that fight.
Yes, he did.
What year
Yeah.
was that, Mr. Martinez? Do you remember?
I don't know right off the top of my head the year. I could guess, but I would rather not. But I remember Kiko died. You talk about Pintor and Zarate. I
Mm,
attended that fight at Caesar's Palace, and that was one of the worst decisions I have ever witnessed live at a fight.
really?
Absolutely. Zarate won that fight hands down. They gave it to Lupi Pintor. I had to go to the bathroom and I threw up. Uh, Caesar's Palace. That race is one of the top terrible. Most people talk about Whitaker and they talk about De La Hoya and they talk about all that. I'm telling you, the Carlos Zarate fight against Lupi Pintor at Caesar's Palace was one of the worst decisions. It's in my top three. The other one is Tyrone Everett against Alfredo Escalera. That's another one that I just put my head down. I said, what were these referees? But one of the referees was actually admitted crooked in that fight in Philadelphia. He was from
one,
Puerto Rico.
one of the judges. One of the
One of the
judges.
judges, yeah, they took
Yeah,
a bribe.
you know, every time I think about robbery, I think the word robbery is thrown around way too loosely today. I don't really like it. I tend to hold that for an actual real robbery. And one of the ones that always sticks to me is Paul Williams and Irslandi Lara. I'm like,
Oh yes,
Paul Williams did not win that fight. I mean, it was dominated by Irslandi Lara. There
yes, he
is
was.
no way Paul Williams won that fight, but they gave it to Paul Williams. He was the more up and comer, more popular fighter, I guess. But Lara got robbed today. It just seems like
I thought Laura beat Canelo.
that's a good argument. That's a good
Yeah,
argument.
and
I don't really argue against that too much. That's a good argument. However, when it was against Paul Williams, it was like hands down. There was no argument to be made that Paul Williams got that fight, and his corners there like it's because you put the pressure. It's because you put the pressure, and I'm like, guy, that is not it. But no, there's I think there's a little bit of controversy between the decision between Lara and Canelo. I definitely
I'll tell you a horrible decision. Another one that made me puke actually was De La Hoya against Felix Strum out in Vegas. Strum came over
mm,
from Germany. Felix
mm.
Strum won that fight, and I think De La Hoya admitted that he got a gift. Yeah.
Well, before we move on to the last thing, anything else you want to say on trilogies? Is there any trilogies that you would like to see? Is there any trilogies that you thought should have happened, but that they only got 2 fights out of it?
Not really. I think the way that the history of boxing turned out to be with the fights, I would have liked to seen Hagler Hearns again, but that didn't happen because that next fight was Mugabe, and then of course the fight after that was Leonard, which he retired. Hagler was one of my favorite fighters. Alexis Arguello and Aaron Pryor. That's another one that they fought twice. That wasn't a trilogy. Arguello moving up in weight to 140 to fight Aaron Pryor surprised me very much. As a matter of fact, I bring that up because a lot of people I get a lot of fan mail, and it's all positive. It's all good. These people are not argumentative. They want my opinion. I give them my honest opinion with credibility. They're asking me about Tank Davis, Giovanni Davis against Ryan Garcia. Who do I like and why?
let's get to that. Let's
Yeah,
get to that because
I've
right
had
now,
the
because
minute the
right,
minute the minute that was signed, I must have had, and I'm not exaggerating, 15, 20 messages and emails coming in about Mr. Martinez. Who do you like and why?
mhm,
So there's a lot of interest, and that fight is good for boxing. The
yes,
Delvin Haney fight with Lomachenko coming up, those are all good fights for boxing in itself. People want to see those fights. I'm disappointed that Spence and Crawford never got it on. That
right,
was one fight that I was looking forward to, but
mhm,
Uzak is going to fight Tyson Fury, and there's a lot of interest there too, believe it or not. But
mhm.
these fights coming up, and this Ryan Garcia fight, I give Ryan a lot of credit for stepping up to the plate on that fight.
I do too. I do too because he's the one that went ahead and agreed to a lot of this. People are saying like, you should have negotiated better. But the bottom line is there was really no negotiating. I know his brother personally. There was
Mm-hmm.
really no negotiating. It's either you agree to these terms or there's no fight that happens. So there really is no room to negotiate. So you agree to a 136. And by the way, to everybody on the chats, I see you guys, man. We can't get to all of you guys. Go to his website. Go to Mr. Martinez's website, and I'm gonna leave the links and all the information pinned in the comment section. We just want to talk a little bit about Ryan and Tank before we wrap it up.
Well,
But gracias to everybody, man. Um,
Well, back in the day, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I used to
mm,
write for the Santa Barbara News Press. And I
okay.
used to write 90% of my articles were fight predictions, and I did pretty darn good. So what I did is I just finished quarterly on my website. I have my quarterly article is an editorial from the desk of David Martinez. So I do it in the spring, the summer, the fall, and the winter. My spring edition is a week away. I've already written it. It's already done. And I said, what can I add to this instead of my ratings and thanking people for participating in my fan base and all of that? I'll add my fight prediction because more people have asked me about what I think about Ryan Garcia and Giovanni Davis.
Mhm,
And, I made it very short. I didn't go blow by blow and round by round. But the way I see this fight, it parallels. I say parallels. Think about it with and I'm talking about the sizes. You got Giovanni Davis, who's a tremendous puncher. You got Ryan Garcia, who's on the upswing. It parallels with Arguello and Pryor because the height is almost identical. Well,
mhm.
Ryan Garcia is probably what, about 5'10", 5'10 and a half. Aguayo
Yeah.
was tall, and Aaron Pryor was what, 5'6", 5'7". He was smaller, and Giovanni Davis is 5'6" at best. Who do I think is going to win that fight? I think Ryan Garcia is going to give him all he can handle for the first 6, 7, 8 rounds. But I
Mhm.
think Davis will come through. I think he's got bigger balls, and I think he'll stop him in the 11th round. That's my prediction on that fight. And I do believe, and I'm not trying to convince anybody or taking
Uh,
any favorites. I look at it as not a business, but who I think. Do I sit at night and think about, dream about it? What's going to happen? Well, I can anticipate, but I just think when it's all said and done, I think it's going to be a closer fight than people think. I think Ryan Garcia is going to be spectacular out of the gate. I think they're going to tell him, you go with this guy. But I think after Giovanni Davis breaks him down a little bit, I think he'll be behind on points up until about the 8th or 9th round. I just do believe in the later rounds, Giovanni Davis has bigger nuts, and he's going to just win that fight by a TKO in the 11th round. And it parallels very, because the size. A lot of
mhm.
people think, look at Hagler Hearns. There's a size differential there. I
Yeah.
don't, I don't gauge that when they say, oh, he's bigger. If anything, Ryan Garcia is younger, and that's a plus. And Giovanni Davis, I just think that what's Giovanni Davis? He's got all of his. He's only got like 2 decisions, and all of his fights are knockout. So that's telling me something. And Ryan Garcia, I tell you, he's a clinic. He's like Aguayo. He is a master boxer, and he's very sharp with that. That left hand is tremendous. But I think Giovanni Davis will stop him late, not early, late. And I think the fans will get their money's worth. And I give both those fighters all the credit and props in the world for giving that to the boxing fans. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, some people try to can make an argument that Gervonta's fought a lot smaller guys, but he also fought Mario Barrios, and he ended up knocking him out. Not that Barrios is on the level of Ryan Garcia, but I'm gonna be rooting for Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
I like I said, I I know his brother pretty well, and we're gonna be in Vegas, and we're gonna be watching that fight and everything. So I'm definitely gonna be rooting for Ryan. But I was thinking about it almost all day today, and I think it's going to go the way the way you're saying it is.
Well,
And,
I put
and
it
here's why.
I put it in print. When you read my article, you're going to get a hard copy of that in about a week. I've already got the article written. All I have to do is install the pictures. You'll see in the article about page 3. You'll see their banner, their fight banner that they're going to fight. And then just what I told you. It just parallels to me. It parallels to Aguayo Pryor, the size differential. And there is a size differential in that fight. But, there's been fight differential. Look at Mike Tyson. He fought the bigger guys. He fought Mitch Green. Mitch Green looked like a giant to him. But once he got inside and broke him down, boom, bingo, he was done.
Yeah. And also, we shouldn't forget the rehydration clause as well. That might affect Ryan in the later rounds. Maybe not in the very start, but as the fight goes on, where you really need that gas tank, that's probably going to affect him. And Ryan might get a little bit comfortable, or he might be a little bit too drained in the later rounds due to the rehydration clause. And Ryan, and by the way, Ryan has, a bad habit of sticking his chin out there. Every time he's throwing punches, especially a jab, he's throwing that chin out there. And you put that chin out there for Tank Davis to for Tank to have a nice little target there. Hey man, he's gonna knock you right on that chinny chin. And whether he knocks him out or not, a good one by Tank Davis, I don't think Ryan ever recovers from that. He recovered from Luke Campbell, but this is not Luke Campbell, and that was early in the fight. This being later in the fight, and a rehydration clause, and your gas tank being limited because of the rehydration clause, a good one. You might be getting back up, but I don't think you're going to recover, man.
You know what I get a lot of, and I'm not laughing at these people. They don't know who to pick, so they say it's going to be a draw. Now, can you imagine a draw in the Miss America or the Miss Universe contest? I don't do draws. I don't do even rounds. That's just old school me. Each round, Nat Fletcher and Bert Sugar taught me, and Harold Letterman, my good friend, each round is one fight. You score it, you put it in the bank, and you move on to the next round. Okay? And these people that say it's going to be a draw, it'll go to a majority draw or whatever. I said, I don't think that fight's going to be a draw. I think both these guys are going to give 100%, and I think Gervonta Davis will win by a stoppage. And again, the 11th round.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a draw either. I'm rooting for Ryan. I hope I'm wrong. I want Ryan to win. I really do. I'm rooting for him.
There's an old saying my pop used to tell me: "May the best man win." And the best man will win. Hopefully, there won't be any controversy or any crooked judges or any of that type of stuff, in this fight.
Let's hope not. Kerry, para el otro miércoles. Para el otro miércoles, en español otra vez, pero ahora no. Pomona, Panama Lewis, same guy. Ryan closes his eyes every time he throws with his chin up. Not good. Yeah, I see the same thing, man. I see the same thing. How would you guys feel if Ryan stopped him? I feel good. I'm rooting for Ryan. So I'd feel good. For the reasons that Joaquin just said right here, Ryan closes his eyes every time and throws with his chin up. I think Tank is going to find that. But I hope not. I hope Ryan wins. I'm rooting for him. But
April the 23rd.
22nd.
22nd, excuse me. 22nd.
22nd. Yeah.
Yeah, 22nd.
Yeah. So we're definitely going to be there. He had penny rolls in his gloves too.
Yeah. When you see my editorial, and again, you'll get it in the mail from the desk of David Martinez. I just what I just said to you. I had to put that in print to predict the outcome of that fight, and that eliminate all these people calling and texting me. Who do you think's going to win? Well, go to my website dmboxing.com, and you'll see from the desk of David Martinez, which is my spring edition. It'll be. I haven't got a publishing date scheduled for that quite yet, but that'll be spring is Tuesday. I can't believe it. It feels like winter still, but the spring's coming up here in less than a week.
Yeah. And Mr. Martinez, I hope that you would cover trilogies as well. That is just, it's just, I love it because I think it really solidifies the history of boxing, man. When you
Yeah.
see these trilogies that happen,
Well,
especially the great ones.
one of the trilogies that I left out, and pardon me for doing that, is Barney Ross against Jimmy McLaren. That was a tremendous trilogy. Those guys, Barney Ross won 2 of the 3 fights. They were welterweights, junior welterweights and welterweights back in the 40s, and they were just tremendous. That's another trilogy that's just at the outset of my top 5. Barney Ross, Jimmy McLaren.
And that's why I would love for you to cover these, so you can really educate guys like me on it, because those old school ones like that I don't really know too much about, but I'm damn interested in it, that's for sure. But Mr. Martinez, anything else that you would like to throw out there before we wrap it up, sir?
Yes. Please go to my website, dmboxing.com. I think you'll enjoy what you see. I do things differently. It's all about honesty and credibility, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you on your show, and let's do it again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I look forward to doing this with you much, much more. So your favorite trilogy of all time is?
Ali Frazier.
Got it. Mine, I will go with Gotti Ward. However, I would rather have it be Pacquiao Marquez, but they fought 4. So if you want to disqualify it, that's fine. That's okay. I'm happy with Gotti Ward. But that is one, Mr. David Martinez. I will leave the information to his website. Please, Chingones, go check out his website, man. That's his t-shirt right there. Go check out his website. Man, he's got a lot of great stuff, man. Gracias for tapping in tonight. And man, we will do it again. I will definitely have this gentleman back on, and we just got to pick his brain. Definitely got to pick his brain. Mr. Martinez, thank you so much for jumping on those Tres Chingones boxing. Shout out to the Chingones and Chingonas. Have a great night. We'll catch you guys in the next round.
Buenas noches and good night. Thank you.